Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video we're going to take a look at the ultimate solution for sprained ankles. Now, I learned this many decades ago while I was watching the coach of the U.S. Olympic ski team on TV being interviewed, and they asked him, "Do you guys do anything to prevent injuries?" And they said, "Yeah, there's this one stretch we do to prevent sprained ankles." I mean, man, my ears perked up because I injured my ankle as a child, and it's always been prone to re-injury all the time, especially when I was playing competitive tennis. So the guy went on to explain how this stretch works, or he demonstrated it, and I'll do that here in a little while to actually demonstrate the stretch. But I want to kind of explain it just a little bit before I do. It won't take long. You see, when we sprain our ankle, normally we roll on the outside. Of course, we can roll on the inside, but we roll on the outside, we're going to strain or pull the outer ligaments. So we have ligaments on both sides of the joint to stabilize the joint. And the way I like to look at it or think of it is to imagine that they're like rubber bands on each side. And what happens is when we sprain something, one side stretches out and is longer now, so now it's not stable. So what I like to do is I like to balance out that by stretching the other ligament the other way. And that's basically what we want to do. So when we sprain something, we violently go too far one way. Well, we want to slowly go as far as we can the other way, and once it gets balanced out, we won't have that problem. Now, I was again prone to sprain my ankle all the time, and as soon as I saw this stretch, I started doing it every day, because I was already stretching every day anyway. I just added that to my routine, and I could tell a difference. It was working, but eventually I finally sprained it again while I was playing tennis. But I immediately stretched it out. Immediately went the opposite way, very gently and very slowly, but I went back the other way, and I sprained it so bad I knew how bad I had sprained it. I knew I was going to be set up for several days having it swollen, but I was able to keep playing that day, and it never swelled up. It never bothered me at all. And then while I was coaching tennis, I've had lots of my students sprain their ankle while they're in my class, and I show them that stretch, and they do the stretch, and they even say, "Oh no, I've had this before, I'll never be able to walk, I won't be able to walk on it for days." I go, "No, trust me, just stretch it out the other way." And sure enough, everyone I've shown has done this, and it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the camera, and I'm going to run over to some place around here. I've been looking at a tree over here and a bench over there, and I'm trying to think of which one would be the easiest to get to. I'm just going to grab it and go for it. And anything will work, like a wall, or let me show you where I just came from. There's my dog struggling in the grass, and here's a tree right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'll find one place where I'm going to try to get here. This will work right here, I'm pretty sure. What you do is you put your heel as close up to the wall as you can, or a tree or whatever, and then since most people strain the foot on the outside, what you want to do is you want to stretch it back the inside way. So by I don't know if this is showing up very well or not, but you get the point here. Is you just barely stretch, or you very gently stretch the opposite direction. So if it was the other way, you'd go the other way. And of course you can do that on the ground too. You can, rotate your foot this way and that way too. But when you use a wall or fence or anything like this, you're able to apply more leverage and more pressure on it. And again, what you do is you try to unlopside those ligaments so that they're equal and they're balanced. And I guarantee you this works all the time. Now, the basic recommendations forever has been to use the RICE method: rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And now they add a P on top of that for price. And now what do you get? Protection on front of that. Well, the guy, the doctor, Dr. Gay Merkin, who wrote that book that explained how to use this technique, has even recanted himself. This doesn't work. You don't want to ever apply ice to reduce the inflammation. You don't want to do anything to reduce the inflammation. This is the medical mentality. They don't understand the body's trying to heal itself, and they interfere with it. They think that's their job. You don't interfere with the inflammation. You don't want to put ice on that. That limits the healing. Well, a lot of wind coming up, I'll get blown over here. So you don't want to use ice. It doesn't even make sense. You don't treat the symptom. Remember, when we have inflammation, 5 main symptoms: The first two is redness and swelling. Those are the two fluids to the rescue. Remember, our body's nothing but a bunch of cells and two fluids. The blood is the kitchen, it brings in the food. The lymph system is a bathroom, it cleanses and protects the cells. When you injure your body, you need those two fluids to the rescue. You need the inflammation. You don't want to suppress the inflammation. You don't want to use ice. If it happens and you know about this, you stretch it out immediately. Now, if it's already happened, it's been several days, obviously you're going to be too tender to use this technique, but you can still gradually work your way into it. Remember, whenever you stretch, you never stretch to where it hurts. You find that point of discomfort and you slightly back off, and then you breathe deep and you hold that stretch. Breathing deep is a natural form of relaxation. Very important to incorporate breathing when we're stretching. So if this ever happens to you in the future, it happens, 25,000 people do this every day. If it's happening to you right now and you're Googling it and you just found this, stretch it out immediately. Don't use the ice. Don't interfere with the inflammation. Inflammation is good. It's there to help heal the body. More swelling, that's the lymph fluid. Let's get rid of the damaged cells. More blood, let's repair everything. Now, even the fever, you don't want to suppress the fever, another symptom of inflammation. For every degree the body temperature rises, your white blood cells double their speed to gobble up anything that might have gotten into us that need to get out of there. So, typical example of the medical mentality. They don't understand what inflammation is all about. You don't want to use ice and interfere with the healing of the body. And when you don't interfere with the healing of your body, you know what you're in for, a treat.